The name's Royle, Ian Royle, secret agent 003½, licensed to be thrilled. My mission today is to drive this BMW 750iL and work out why the real James Bond chose a German car over a more traditional marque, perhaps like an Aston Martin. This is a car packed full of gimmicks and gadgetry, with more than enough computer power to send a rocket into space. The BMW 750iL is a car with a whopping engine, 5.4 litres and a V12 that purrs around town, but when you unleash it on the open road, it growls with pleasure at its unleashing. It has 326 brake horsepower, more than enough to take the car to 60 miles per hour in 6 seconds, and a limited top speed of 155 miles per hour. Even the steering wheel is a minefield of technology. You get controls for the radio, the telephone, the cruise control. There's a button to recirculate the air should it become stuffy here in the cabin, heavens forbid. And you can even have a heated steering wheel. A touch of the button will warm it for you on a cold winter morning. All around the car are these sensors which work the park distance control. Now they send a signal back inside the car to the dashboard which beeps at you as you get close to an obstruction, say a villain in a multi-storey car park. On your way to the casino for a game of Baccarat with Blofeld, then what better than in the back of the 750iL? You get an extra 5 inches of legroom back here, as well as electric seats, heated seats, double glazed windows, and these security blinds. What better way than to while away a few minutes and enjoy a vodka martini, shaken but not stirred. Now, you may think you can't have much fun in a car as big as this, but believe me, you can. The long wheelbase 7 Series is nearly 18 feet long and over 6 feet wide. They don't come much bigger, believe me. But drive it hard, push it fast into a corner, and it responds perfectly. Your rear passengers may feel a little shaken or stirred, but you'll have the smile of someone who's just been to bed with pussy galore. One of the reasons the car is so sure-footed on the road is that it's fitted with 2 traction control systems. Yes, 2. You get automatic stability control and traction and dynamic stability control, and they equal a great handling car. The moment the computers in the car think you're about to lose control, get into trouble, they cut in and help you out. You'd have to do something very stupid to lose control of this car. So, what sort of secret agent salary would you need to buy this car? Well, a whopping one, that's for sure. You'll need deep pockets to be able to afford the £75,000 price tag, and there's very little in the way of extras. And the mind boggles at the amount of computers in the car, enough to send perhaps Moonraker into space. It's not a car for your friendly mechanic from the local garage to be messing about with. So, did 007 James Bond make the right choice in choosing a 750 BMW? Well, perhaps after so many narrow escapes, he thought it was the time to have something a little more comfortable than his trusty Aston Martin, and this car fits the bill perfectly. BMW certainly pulled a masterstroke in getting their cars into the Bond films, but you can't help feeling that perhaps he'd be more suited to driving a Bentley Continental Coupe, for instance, but even that's not British anymore. For me, 003½, this car fits the bill perfectly. Miss Moneygrabber, book me a flight to Munich, will you?
When they said I'd been picked for another diesel road test, my initial reaction was not again. I mean, diesels are no fun, are they? They're big, big business. I accept that. 3 million last year in Europe, up 20%. Everybody appears to be into diesels now. Even Jaguar are considering it. But when they said Alpha Romeo and a diesel, I just couldn't believe it. Alphas are sporting thoroughbreds. Beautiful Italian masterpieces. You can't have a diesel in an Alpha. Or can you? I can't say I'm a great lover of diesels. I mean, nobody actually loves diesels anyway. But they do have a place in modern society. They're dependable, predictable. But could you ever imagine one in a beautiful looking machine like this, an Alfa Romeo 156? My first impressions are definitely it's a no-no. Alfa Romeos and diesels, I don't think so. I bet there are quite a few Alfa Romeo aficionados turning in their grave now at the sight of this, the dreaded D letter. A D, as we all know, stands for dull and dreary and noisy and loud. But in the case of Alfa, they say it stands for P for performance. And in fact, it could even be D for devilish, because the performance of this car on paper is remarkably good. And it's a performance that Alfa feel confident enough to say can wear their badge as a whole new brand for the marque in the UK. One thing's for sure, whether or not the Alfa delivers the performance and the economy that you have to have with the diesel, we'll soon find out on the road. But the fact is, this will definitely be the best looking diesel in the world, because the Alfa 156 remains one of the great beauties of motoring. This car looks wonderfully good from any angle, and even with a diesel badge on the back. Very first impression, soon as you put the right foot to the accelerator, instant response. There's no turbo lag. This car feels immediately frisky. You see, the reason why diesels are so important to Alfa is that not only does everyone expect Alfa to look beautiful, they also expect them to sound beautiful. They have some of the sweetest sounding engines in the world. So let's see what this diesel is like when we push it. Beautiful. I don't know if you heard that thoroughly, but that is a great sound. It is tremendously sporty. It's got a sort of nice throaty sound to it that I've never ever heard in a diesel before, bar perhaps BMW's superb 3 Series. But this is immediately the best sounding diesel I've ever been in. But the good news is that the Alfa doesn't just simply deliver performance and forget about economy, because after all, economy is the key factor for a lot of people who buy diesels. So how does this grab you? 12% more performance, 15% better fuel economy. To put that into things you and I can understand, how about an overall consumption of 42.7 mpg? We're talking better than Super Mini returns there. It's absolutely incredible. Yes, this is what I would call a diesel delight. You can have your economy cake and eat it with this Alfa. It's that good. What I like about the Alfa is it is truly an all-round package. The interior is as impressive as the exterior. It's full of lovely, quirky little Italian pieces. The dashboard has got the 2 individual cowlings straight ahead of you, very traditional. All of the instruments are near at hand, easy to touch. You've got the heater controls, the temperature controls, the radio, just a finger touch away. There's a lot of thought gone into making this a very user-friendly cabin. So, if like me, you told your friends you'd never be seen dead in a diesel, tell them you've had a change of mind. Tell them you didn't realise that Alfa were just going to come up with the sexiest, sportiest diesel you've ever driven. And you know the best news of all? You can even tell the wife that when you're buying this for just over £20,000, you're being really, really sensible, because it really is an incredibly practical motor. It just happens to be the most fun diesel you'll ever drive. As the Italians would say, arrivederci.
How many enthusiasts out there would sell their mothers to drive a prototype race car before the car's gone into production? Imagine driving the Viper before the manager's decision to go ahead with a production car.
Or a new Lotus perhaps. This is the new Lotus Sport Elise, and tonight you'll see it moving for the first time on your TV, an exclusive. From the front you'll see it's got lots of aggression. This is a race car. The biggest difference you'll see of the body shell is this long curving roof. It takes you down nice and smooth to the very purposeful rear spoiler. And then we've got a squared off tail, all this adding to the aerodynamics that are required for a race version of the Elise. And under here is the gorgeous Lotus developed 1.8 200 brake horsepower development of the K-Series engine. It revs up to 9,000 RPM and it goes like a rocket. It's beautiful. And inside you can see it's a race car as well. It's a no compromise, lightweight construction race car, minimal dashboard. You've got the stack for the data login. The materials, aluminium, nicely welded up. That's the actual frame of the car, which is almost like the standard cars. Carbon fiber, very neat detailing where the handbrake would normally be. The surround for the gear change, nicely molded carbon fiber. This is a no compromise race car, but beautifully done. If my touring car had ever looked this neat and tidy, I would have been very surprised. This has had a lot of thought put into it, and it's a credit to the engineers that have put it together. And this is still the development car. It's going to get better. We've got the fire extinguisher, a must for all smokers, and mandatory obviously. We've got the rollover bar here, safety devices roll cage, just in case a tree falls on you or you happen to turn the car over. Very nice. Can't find the stereo, can't find the heater. Don't think it's there, don't think we need it. This car is straight out of the box. They've whacked a set of springs on it, they've whacked a set of dampers on it, they've got the wheels pointed roughly in the right direction, and if that's the case, this car is going to be bloody good, because to me, it's there already. Okay, a few tweaks on the dampers, a little bit of a tweak on the roll stiffness, and it definitely needs that, but beyond that, it's going to take this from a mega good car to something which is going to be probably the fastest one-make series in the UK. The TBR is going to be slightly quicker down the straights, but come the corner, a TBR will be buried its nose into the tarmac, hard on the brakes. This Elise, I think, will still have its foot down round the corner. Don't even touch the brakes. The grip and the handling are so good. It's going to reward the good driver. The good driver will be able to take what Lotus have put into it and develop it beyond that for individual circuits, for their individual style of driving. I've raced touring cars a lot. They're very satisfying when you get it right. But the actual enjoyment of driving a touring car for the sake of driving a touring car is just not there. They are not fun. It's got to be rear-wheel drive. It's got to be on slicks, and for me, it's got to be a Lotus. I'll be very interested in doing this championship next year. So there we have it. Lotus have put their vast racing heritage behind the development of this Elise. It's going to be a fantastic championship encompassing UK and Europe. Over 45 people have vying for the 25 positions that are available. Only 25 cars will be built for people coming up with 50 grand, and Lotus will sift out not the people with the most money, but they'll sift out the best drivers, probably here at this test track at Texel. I should imagine we'll end up with quite a few cars on the road, Elise's with these kits. No doubt the rear spoiler will find its way onto the back of quite a few road cars, and it's because it looks so good. They'll probably be grafted on the roof line as well. But that won't be an option from Lotus Cars.
The name Jaguar is synonymous with style. Grace, pace and space was their advertising slogan in the 50s and 60s, and they've been responsible for some of the most elegant designs ever made. Here at the National Motor Museum, there are 4.5 of them on display. Yes, that's right, 4.5 Jaguars, and this is the half Jaguar. It's a 1931 Austin 7 Swallow. Austin 7 with bodywork by Swallow Sidecars of Blackpool. They then went on to make the SS100 sports car, phenomenally successful car from the late 30s. But of course, towards the end of the 30s, the SS came to mean something rather less tasteful than sports cars, and so they changed their name to Jaguar. Now, before leaving this car, it's worth pointing out the reason it looks a bit shabby is it's a one-owner car. One owner from new this car's had, Mrs. McIntosh. She bought it when she was a young lady, and when she finally gave up driving, she gave it to the museum. And because it's so original, we're going to keep it that way. The next of the Jaguars is this XK150 Roadster from 1960. With a top speed of 125 from its 3.8 litre engine, it was the world's first production vehicle to have four-wheel disc brakes as standard, and at a little over £2,000, it was a third of the price of its Ferrari rival. Representing Jaguar's sporting heritage is this D-Type, which came second in the 1954 Le Mans. With a power output of 250 brake horse, it had a top speed of a near unbelievable 175 miles an hour, and its looks were the basis for the E-Type, of which this is a 1961 3.8 litre example. Even today, it still stops people in their tracks, so elegant and pure are its lines. The final Jaguar in the collection is a rather special one. It's big, in fact it's very big. It's also fast, very fast, and everyone who bought one in the 1980s as an appreciating classic had their fingers well and truly burned. It is, of course, the Jaguar XJ220. If every car makes a statement, then this is a loads of money car. It's cash over practicality. It's a typical late 80s money statement. The car doesn't need to be as big as this. The McLaren proved that. It's far, far too big. It's too ostentatious. It's difficult to drive. It's completely useless for the job of getting you from A to B. And if you think that's bad enough, have a look at the luggage space. It is completely laughable. You wouldn't even get a briefcase in there, look. Car's built from aluminium. It's very, very high tech. Cost £403,000. And you can buy them brand new now for 150 because no one wants them. This was the comeuppance for the investor brigade. But worse still, its legacy is a Jaguar management unwilling to develop other exotic show cars for production, such as the gorgeous XK180. Oh well, all aboard, time for a spin. Well, it's off for a joyride around the grounds of Bewley, and I must say it's incredibly noisy. And judging by the gearing of the thing, if it's got 5 gears at 200 miles an hour, we're not going to get much out of first gear, I don't think. It is very, very noisy, quite bumpy, and not what you'd expect from a Jaguar at all. Another thing is you just cannot see any corners, you can't see the sides. It's a very, very limited field of view. I'm glad I'm not driving it actually, I'm really very glad. Obviously it'd be nice to boast about that I've driven an XJ220, but frankly, I wouldn't like to be the one to have to admit that I'd hit something in an XJ220. Now we're motoring.
Well, motoring, yes, but not for long. At anything below motorway speeds, it can overheat very quickly. I think we best put it back, eh?
Well, that was certainly different, but I think I prefer my Jags to be a bit more refined, a little quieter, and with that extra bit of headroom.